Yes, I think among many questions, and I've been processing my questions and my thought with a lot of people, and they had given me pages and pages and pages. But this word of the anticipation piece, together with the piece of resistance, is very dear to me. I've been influenced by liberation theologians. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I've been reading a lot, and it seemed to me like, for the most part, if we have embraced hope, we are living into the piece of resistance. I am interested in personally, I'm interested in examples of where are the concrete practices, rhythms, or values that we can live as we anticipate. Within the global social movement, there's been a lot to do for resistance. And at some point, people have realized resistance always takes us too far. We better start creating alternatives. Yeah. So there's people creating co-ops and created new ways of local government.
Yes.
What are some concrete examples in your experience that you've seen of this happening, of us as communities of faith, as the church actually creating enclave of the future, or actually, landing places for the future, or piercing that? In concrete examples, if you have had, or yeah.
Well, these movements are not always Christian churches, but many Christians take part in these movements, and some of them are very effective. For example, when the Green Party started in Europe, and especially in Germany, there were extra-parliamentary opposition groups. Then they formed a political party, a small one, and were bringing the ecological questions to the public. And after 20 years, we already see how they pressed these topics or questions of ecology into the other parties, even to the conservative parties and the neoliberal parties. They all talk about the environment and save the environment, and so they all have become more or less green. And the same is true with forms of social justice groups in the Social Democratic Party in Germany. Now more or less all the parties have on their agenda social justice first, even before free market. Even the neoliberals are now for social justice first, and if there can be a free market, that's okay. So the influence of small groups of alternative life change of the conditions are very effective. And many young people in Germany don't join political parties anymore because politics is limited to a nation or the European community, while ATTAC or Doctors Without Limits and all the other groups are global. Global engagement for young people, and this is much more attractive than a small political party in Germany. Especially ATTAC, another world is possible. I would say not only another world, but a better world is possible, is very effective, attracting many young people and who engage and give time and energy of their life for it, and this has certainly an influence upon the whole situation on the globe.
Were you able to see that kind of alternative life within the base communities that you visit and that you had encounter with? Because sometimes we have an understanding of the base communities as basic, quote unquote, a different kind of home church, house church, but some of them actually embrace different practices and way of living that were different from the dominant system. And if so, how did they touch you?
What I have seen of it in Nicaragua, next to
Dominican Republic? In Honduras?
No, in Nicaragua, is to live a community life in the slums, to show the people how mutual help will bring them out of the misery. So they always say the contrary of poverty is not property, but the contrary of poverty and property is community. Because in a community we are very rich of ideas, of energies, we can help ourselves. It's only the individualization coming through commercials and which is making people powerless. But in a community, we are strong, and the Christian churches should be reminded of the first Christian congregation. According to Acts chapter 4, I believe, there was not a needy person among them. They had everything in common. This is a promise and a commandment, so to speak, in all our Christian churches and communities. A Christian church is alive when in the congregation there are a lot of communities. So a community is alive where smaller communities live together. We have one, normally the churches in Germany are only half filled, as you know. Because after a worship in Germany, you cannot ask, did you enjoy the service? There was nothing to enjoy in. But there's one church in Tübingen, Jakobus Church, which is overfilled every Sunday because they consist of smaller communities who meet in the houses and work for third world issues or the poor, the table, as we call it, feeding the poor, etc. And then in the service, after the sermon and prayer, these groups show up and say what they have done in the last week and where they need help and a person could engage and etc. And that's the most lively church we have. But this is an old knowledge, I believe, that a community consists out of communities, not of single person or individuals. Individuals form a lonely crowd. Only communities form communities. And if this is practiced in churches, people will look at it